All right. Ang unang tanong na binato sa akin for purposes of clarification is yung pertaining to the future of the Philippine legislature as a house that as a branch of government that has two houses. Ito yung Senate at saka ito yung House of Representatives. So alam niyo na, dalawa yan, ano? So kitang-kita niyo na diyan. By, uni, alam niyo na yan, yung mga salitang yan. Pero dalawa kasi ang lumalabas dito, either bicameralism or bipartisanship. Pero kasi, ang sagot dito ay yung letter A, ano? This actually pertains to the lawmaking capacity of the legislature. Ang nangyayari kasi dyan, ang isang batas kasi ay hindi kaagad nagiging batas. Ito ay nagsisimula pa lamang sa tinatawag nating bill, ano? And it has to be initiated by the member of the House of the Representatives, yung Congress, no? Ngayon, ito ay tatakbo sa tinatawag na 3 readings. Kapag ito ay tuloy-tuloy, akyat naman ito sa upper house, itong tinatawag natin na Senate. Kung magkakameron ng conflict yung versions ng dalawa, kasi sometimes because of the viewpoints of the different houses, magkakameron ng differentiation in terms of their opinions. May mga modifications and ire-refer ito sa tinatawag natin na may tawag dyan eh. I forgot at the moment, pero definitely yun ang magka-clarify so that that house, that particular committee, yung bicameral conference committee actually ang tawag nila, will be able to reconcile yung differences or yung variations dun sa versions ng House of Representatives at saka yung Senate. So ito yung tinatawag natin na bicameralism. Ito actually yung tinatawag natin na pinaka-prominent feature ng ating legislative branch of government. Please hit the next question, please. Which of the choices ensures that the citizenry will have the right to seek public office, vote for elective officials, and be active in government? O yan. Ang sagot dito ay tinatawag natin na political rights. Bakit political rights? Yung tinatawag na body politic o yung polity. Pag sinabing polity, tayo yon. Kaya may tinatawag na poll tax minsan, ibig sabihin yan, it's a tax actually paid by the people. Yung poll tax, katulad ng tinatawag natin na yung community tax, yan ay isa sa mga political rights natin. Pag kinawag na poll, ang ibig sabihin yan, ikaagad yung cross-refer yan sa tao, people. So may citizenry yung contextual clue. Bakit kaya yun ang sinagot natin by process of elimination? Kasi pag letter B ang sagot mo, kasi malapit din ang letter B, right of suffrage. Suffrage kasi is actually focused lang dun sa karapatan natin na bumoto. Yun lang yun, to seek public office. Pero yung to vote, dito lang sa the third splice, which is to vote for the elective officials. Pero paano naman kung you are running for the right to be elected in public office? Not as a voter, but as a candidate. So, sakop talaga nito yung political rights. Talagang mas far-reaching ito dahil ito yung it embraces all aspects of our rights as a citizenry and as a body politic. No? Yung social civil rights naman, nako, medyo malayo na kasi governance ito eh. May political complexion kasi yung tanong. Your right to determine those people who shall be elected in public office or your right also to be elected in public office. So yung tanong kasi may political undertone. Kung dito kasi sa social civil rights, nawawala yung political undertone ng tanong eh. Yung social kasi, ibig sabihin your prerogative lang or your right to participate in social activities. Let's say in different programs that promote human interest or probably interest groups, yung civil rights. Alam niyo yung mga civil rights, katulad ng mga those ones that are being initiated by interest groups, either you are a tricycle driver or you are for the women's league, etc., etc. Pero ang tanong kasi, nawawala yung political undertone. Political kasi. Alright, yung right to due process naman, kakaiba naman ito. Yung right to due process naman, ito naman yung this has something to do about the presumption of everybody else's right to innocence. Nang bago ka palang husgahan o bigyan ng judgment o decision, kung ano man yan, ng anumang forum, dapat muna ipakikinggan ka. Yan lang yung tinatawag na right to due process. So, wala doon. This is more on judicial and administrative process. Nawawala yung political rights. So, ang pinakamagandang sagot dito would be apolitical rights. Please proceed to the next question. For the preferential attention to the welfare of the less fortunate. So alam nyo na kaagad, ano? So malalaman nyo dito, maglalaro kayo either letter A or letter C, yung tinatawag na social justice o yung distributive justice. Ang sagot dito ay, allow me first to pick out the best answer. Yung best answer dito would be letter A, which is social justice. Bakit social justice? Social justice kasi dahil alam niyo naman, ang ating society is actually made of different stratification para sa mga elite, middle class, at saka yung tinatawag natin ng mga masa. So, kung makikita nyo, maraming mga programs, maraming mga legislative measures initiated by the government that are intended to promote yung interest at saka protection ng mga less fortunate. Alam niyo yung kasabihan natin na those who have less in life should have more in law. So ginagamit ng government through its legislative branch and also through its lawmaking capacity, yung kanyang prerogative para i-promote and at the same time protect also the interests of the less fortunate. Kasi talagang sila yung push over sa lipunan natin sila yung medyo mahina yung bargaining capacity. So what could be a better way to address this problem would be to protect them legally as much as possible. So ito yung tinatawag na social justice. Yung distributive justice naman, ang sinasabing distributive justice kasi ay kung ano yung ginawa mo, yun din ang makukuha mo. Kung ikaw isang kriminal at kunyari ang severity ng iyong offense which is actually defined and penalized, let's say for example under the revised penal code is a capital offense, malamang there is a corresponding graduated penalty for that. So let's say kunyari for murder, reclusion perpetua ka. Kung halimbawang reclusion perpetua ka, which is for 40 years. Kung halimbawang ikaw ay nag-commit lang ng simpleng offense, let's say theft or robbery, may tinatawag sila na reclusion correctional, prison correctional. Let's say mga 12 years, 1 day to 20 years. So nakikita mo talaga graduated yung penalty according to the graduation also of the severity or sensitivity of the offense that you commit. So yan yung distributive justice na tinatawag ko. Anong gawa mo, yun ang makukuha mo. Ano naman yung Bill of Rights? Yung Bill of Rights naman, this is actually a very major part of the Constitution naman na binibigay sa atin ng ating Estado to protect us from the abuses of those people in power. Ano yung mga ito? Yung Bill of Rights natin, right to suffrage, right to free speech and communication, para magkameron tayo ng karapatan na mag-stage ng rally, for example, o ng mga protests. Yan yung mga Bill of Rights. Pero malayong-malayo na yan doon sa tinatawag na social justice which is actually intended for the less fortunate people, yung mga pabahay program. Yan. Justice and kasi may konting compassion. In fact, hindi konti, kundi compassion yung predominant factor dito. So those who have less in life shall have more in law. Ito yan. Alright, please, can you please proceed to the next question?
So attorney, ang sagot po ay social justice. A po ba, attorney?
Yung criminal justice, would you like me to discuss about?
A po ba, sir? A po ba, attorney? Ang sagot sa number 5? Yung po ba ang tamang sagot?
Ang sagot ko ay letter A, social justice.
Okay po. Okay, attorney.
If this principle is applied well, no branches for the reviews as well as the reviewers. Yes?
No problem.
Item number 11, if this principle is applied well, no branch of government will be too powerful or abusive. 3 branches of government again, basic review, we have the executive, which is headed by the president. We have the legislative, which is actually composed of the 2 houses. We have the Senate and the House of the Representatives. And then we have the 3rd branch, which is the Judiciary, headed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Actually, itong tatlo na ito, magkakaiba sila, pero hindi sila nagpapataasan ng power. Well, nakikita natin sa political schema and circumstances in society right now, parang lumalabas sa mas powerful ang president. Yun ang practical reality. But if we go back to principle, talagang lahat ay equal. And they do not work independently from each other, but they work they do not work independently from each other, but they work instead interdependently with each other. Ang ibig sabihin nun, so that kung ano man yung mga incursions o yung mga abuses or excesses ng isang government, the other branch or the 2 other branches will have all the rights and the prerogative to conduct the checks and balances. So halimbawa, kung halimbawa ang president ay nagloloko, paano natin siya tatanggalin? Siyempre, we have the impeachment. Under the Constitution, we have at least 14 impeachable grounds. We have the betrayal of the public trust. We have graft and corruption. Naka-enumerate lahat nun para lahat very very explicit yung enumeration para alam natin kung saan papasok yung demeanor ng isang presidente for that matter, no? O lahat ng mga impeachable officers. So sino ang mag-i-institute ng impeachment laban sa kanya? Of course, it's going to be initiated by the House of the Representatives. Again, aakyat na naman yan sa Senate. Pagkatapos kapag umakyat yan, sino ang magpa-preside? It's going to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Ganon din naman, kung halimbawang ang Chief Justice naman ang ang i-impeach mo, sino naman ang magpa-preside? It's going to be the Senate President. So nakikita mo talaga na dapat hindi nagsasapawan ng bawat isa because again, the principle is not independence away from each other, but interdependence with or upon each other. So, yun. Kung halimbawa naman, kasi nakikita nyo the lawmaking capacity of the legislature is not exclusive. Ang president din, meron din siyang lawmaking capacity, kaya nga may tinatawag natin batas pambansa, meron tayong tinatawag na presidential decree. So what does that presuppose? Na ibig sabihin niya na bagamat the president, which is the head of the executive department, supposedly executing all the laws initiated and enacted by the Congress, by the legislative branch of government, hindi lang execution yung kanyang sakop. Meron din siyang legislative capacity, no? So kung halimbawa gumawa siya ng batas, yung presidential decree, pagkatapos ito has something to do, the nature of the law actually violates what? The very provisions of the Constitution. What does the Supreme Court do? It will strike it as unconstitutional. So nakikita nyo talaga, lahat sila ay checking and balancing each other. So ang nakikita nyo na sa discussion ko ang sagot dyan maliwanag ay letter C. So it's up to ombudsman. Yung ombudsman actually naman, alam nyo naman yan yung pinaka-fiskalya, no, ng mga public officials na may salary grade na 27. Alam nyo kasi, ladies and gentlemen, alam nyo kasi sa gobyerno, meron tayong tinatawag na salary grades. You probably know that. Meron tayong mga salary grade, blah and blah. Basta pag umakyat ka na sa salary grade 27, yung bracket mo and up, yung kaso mo, halimbawa ako bilang fiskalya, ang salary grade ko for example is 27. Hindi mo ako kakasuhan sa fiskalya, malamang. Kakasuhan mo ako sa ombudsman for preliminary investigation and for purposes of case build-up. Kung halimbawa magkameron ng kaso, the criminal charges against me will be tried in Sandigan Bayan. So nagets nyo na po? Alright. Yung less fair naman, alam naman natin dito, ito yung pinaka-free. Yung parang ang gobyerno, halos wala siyang control. Kung meron man, very minimal ang control niya over the people and other branches of the government. And that is not the case in the Philippines. After all, we have 3 branches of government, again, which are checking and balancing each other. So obviously, letter C is the best answer. All right. Number 21, writ of habeas data refers to the right of it. Yes, right. Information privacy, the right to gather information data, the right to search for information. I thought the right information privacy. I'm sorry about that. It's letter B. Yung right to information privacy, ito naman has some. I would like to cross-refer this to the present law, which was into existence and enforced very recently, yung tawag na Data Privacy Act. Ano? Pero kasi meron tayong tinatawag na ang general rule dapat dyan is everybody is entitled to his own right of privacy. Kaya lang may exceptions. Katulad ng bank secrecy law, supposedly hindi pa pwedeng pakialaman yung ating bank deposit. Ano? So may mga if your account is a subject matter of an investigation. So yan. Halimbawa naman Data Privacy Act. Kunyari, kung ikaw ay nagkameron ng 2 asawa, hindi basta-basta kung sino-sino kukuha ng certificate of marriage mo o ng birth certificate ng anak mo sa bigamous marriage because you're protected by the Data Privacy Act. However, that is actually exercised that is actually done in exercise of your duty, pwede ring it will work as an exemption. So wala rin. Itong right to gather information, ito yung sagot dyan writ of habeas data. Kasi may mga activities which are intended to topple down the government. So the government is not without any resort. Bagamat you have the right to privacy, yung right to gather information data, ito yung binibigay by way of exception to the government and other branches of the government to search and to seek information about your activities. Yan. Right the right to gather information. Which of the following is a way for the judiciary to check on the executive branch of government? So si judiciary, let's say si Chief Justice, ang kakalaban niya dito, ang i-check na dito yung President, no? And the members of the cabinet. So malamang, hindi mo i-impeach ang Chief Justice dyan. So malamang, kung i-determine mong salary of the President, hindi lang yon. So declaring a legislative measure unconstitutional, declaring, yan. I think it's letter D. Medyo maglalaro, it's a toss-over between letter C and D. Kaya lang, the question is very general. It does not only pertain exclusively to the law-making capacity of the President para i-declare niya yung legislative measure of the President as unconstitutional. Tinan yung tanong, which of the following is a way of the judiciary to check on the executive branch of government? But it did not specify whether the check pertains to the legislative act of the President or the members of the cabinet. So the more generic way to do it is declaring an act. So that includes what? The execution of an act, the initiation of a law. So declaring an act of the President and of the President unconstitutional. In fact, to our reviewees, hindi lang President yan ha, kasi baka mamaya you might take it as a misnomer, baka ma-misinterpret. Yung President is the only one being checked here. The members of the cabinet, yung mga secretaries niyan. Halimbawa si Roque, the spokesperson, let's say mga different heads of the cabinet, cabinets. Kasi sila yung tinatawag natin na alter ego of the President. They are the little presidents. Kung ano yung gagawin nila, ito yung continuation and reflection of the personality of the President. Kung halimbawa, ang secretary, magbigay ka say, Secretary of the National Defense, yan siya. Pwede mo rin siyang i-declare na constitutional ang kanyang ginagawa kasi he represents the President. He is the substitute. He is the alter ego of the President under the alter ego doctrine in political law. Okay? Participation in governance, including the right to vote and seek public office, is secured with the citizenry's political rights. I think this is a reiteration or amplification of the previous question. Rephrase lang. It's political rights. To vote and seek public office. No. Kasi kung to vote, yan yung suffrage. Yan yung suffrage. Pero political rights is most apt here kasi may dalawa yung public office. So political rights. Kasi once you are being elected in political office, yun na. That's it. Medyo confusing ito kasi yung vote, dyan mo i-cross the first word na suffrage. Pero yung political rights kasi, both your right to suffrage and your right to run and seek and run a public office. Next
So,
question.
attorney, letter C po ang sagot dito sa number 38, attorney.
Yes.
Okay.
Kasi
Number 38 po, letter C.
botohan lang yan.
Okay. And
This is the fundamental law of the land upon which it's a constitution. Actually, lahat, hindi lang civil law, hindi lang criminal law, hindi lang labor law, lahat dapat should bow down to the supremacy of the Constitution. Yung tinatawag na majesty of the Constitution. Kasi the Constitution is the law of the land. Yan yung pinaka-Biblia. Yan yung pinaka-mother ng lahat ng mga batas. Kung merong enact, for example, ang legislature na isang batas, no, na mag-violate ng Constitution, na it becomes unconstitutional. Halimbawa, yung family code natin. Yan ay pattern according to the very provisions of the Constitution that the family is a basic social institution. So kung halimbawa naman na ang family code mo would allow divorce, for example, naku, wala na kasi that will only enrich what? That is actually a violation of the very basic tenet of the Constitution that the family is a basic social institution. Kaya lahat ng mga batas, be it a labor code, a civil code, a criminal revised penal code, etc., should always bow down to the so-called majesty of the Constitution. Constitution is.
so letter B po ang sagot, my dear friends.
Yes,
Attorney, yung po lahat ng tanong about Constitution. So, Attorney, maraming salamat po sa pagdalaw nyo sa amin ngayong gabi. Ayan. Sana po hindi kayo dadala.
About sociology, ano? There are two main concerns here, no? Social justice, and then environmental justice. So it's an application question on how we can best showcase social justice and environmental justice. So when you say social, there will always be human element on it. Okay, kaya nga sosyolohiya, no? Laging may behavior na involved yung tao dito. When you talk about group of people, sociology. When you talk about individual, that's psychology. That's the main difference lang naman eh. Both are tackling behaviors. Ano? Pag malaki ang grupo, kultura, social yun, sociology yun. Pero kapag individual, behavior ng tao, nag-iisa siya, psychology yun. Now, this particular question involves social justice and environmental justice. The answer should have the element of two also. May tao at may environment. Okay, isa-isahin natin. Industrialized countries, toxic disposed to poorer countries. B, temperature warming and rise of sea level. C, desertification of verdant regions. And D, extinction of rare animal species. You know, ito, even if we do not review this kind of concept, if we know how to play with words, then we can immediately see the answer. Sabi natin kanina, social may human element. Among the four options, ang may human element lang dito is when you say industrialized country, because the disposal of these toxic elements are done by human beings. Ano? And then, tawag dito, of course, toxic waste is about environment also. So therefore, the answer here is basically letter A. Industrialized countries, toxic disposed to poorer countries, because tawag dito, this concept actually involves social justice and environmental justice. Itong letter B, temperature warming and rise of sea level, this is basically an environmental issue. So papasok yan sa environmental justice. Ito yung nangangailangan ng hustisyang pangkalikasan. Si letter D, desertification of verdant regions, which is really happening. A lot of mga dating mga kumbaga hitik na hitik at very, very green na area, eventually nagiging disyerto na, no? Na kumbaga resulta ito ng pagbabago ng ating kalikasan. So ito rin ay panawagan sa kalikasan, panawagan ito ng hustisyang pangkalikasan. So hindi din siya, walang social element dito. Letter D, extinction of rare animal species. Diba? There are animals now na before present, but now you can only see in the books dahil extinct na siya. So ito is also environment, it's an issue about environmental justice. So the only answer here that will showcase both social and environmental justice will definitely be letter A. Because when you say industrialized countries, toxic disposal to poorer countries, may human element involved doon. Yung pagtatapon ng basura na ginawa ng Canada, for example, pinadala nila sa Pilipinas ang ilang toneladang mga basura, that is not just environmental justice. Ito ay humihingi rin ng katarungang pang-society. Social justice ang sinisigaw nito. So anong ginawa ng bansa natin? Isinoli natin sa Canada ang basura nila. Ang basurang tinapon mo, babalik din sa'yo. Di ba, Sir Edward? Ganun yun. I find it very easy, this particular one. So the technique here is, you just have to look for the magic term, the magic word. So dito ang magic word is social, tsaka environment. Yun. Sige. Okay na ako doon.
Number 4 po is taxation, Ma'am Jen.
Number 4. Nasaan na, Ate Clarissa? Yan. Number 4. How do you call the tax imposed on all employed and practicing professional? So, employed ka, at the same time, professional ka. So, kung hindi sigurado ang love life, isa lang ang sigurado, meron kang income tax. No? So, the answer is letter A. Kasi you earned. At pag may earning, mayroong income tax. Yung real estate tax kasi pag meron ka ng mga real estate na mga properties, condos, yan. Community tax, kanina sabi ni attorney, it's a poll tax, so sedula yan. And then kahit wala kang trabaho, you can get a community tax. And then inheritance tax, lahat ng namana mo, kung may namana ka, not necessarily you are employed. So the answer is income tax. Yan ang sigurado sa buhay mo pag employed ka. Ha? Kahit walang love life.
Tama po yan, Ma'am Jenny. Number 5 po ay tapos na po tayo sa number 5. Ito po ay consti. Let's now go to number 6, which is art. Who among the following is a famous sculptor? Now, my dear friends, ang papilian is si Edades, Mananasala, Castillo at Cuevas. Mga kaibigan, si Edades, Mananasala at Cuevas ay lahat ng mga painters. At ang sculptor dito ay si Castrillo. At isa sa mga pinakasikat niyang gawa ay ang Bonifacio Monument at ang EDSA Monument. So my dear friends, in number 6, the answers are si Castrillo. Number 7 po, Ate Clarissa, history naman po tayo. Ito po ay lagi lumalabas sa board exam for teachers, my dear friends. So dapat alam natin to. This man served as the last Spanish Governor General of the Philippines. Mga kaibigan, si Ramon Blanco ay nagsilbi mula 1893 hanggang 1896. Si De los Rios naman ay nagsilbi mula September hanggang December ng 1898. Si Agustin ay nagsilbi mula April hanggang July ng 1898. At si, ano ba yung, hindi ko mabasa, ano ba yan, sir? Ano pangalan po? Ayan, si Haudenes naman po ay nagsilbi mula July hanggang August ng 1898. Kaya ang sagot dito, mga kaibigan, is letter B. Si Diego de los Rios nagsilbi mula September hanggang December ng 1898. So, ayan. How about number 8? Number 8 po, Sir Noy, back to you. Sociology.
Okay. Another issue in sociology ito, no? If the social system is based on meritocracy, from the word merita, no? Ang supremacy dyan is about merit, which is a possible effect. Kung ang ating social system ay ang i-advocate ay ang meritocracy, ano daw ang magiging epekto nito sa atin? A, rule by wealthy and powerful. B, leadership by the people of talent. C, culture of elitism. Or letter D, rule by those of noble birth. The answer here is letter B, leadership by the people of talent. When you say merit, base ito sa galing mo, sa talento mo. Mas magaling ka, mas mataas ang position mo. It all started in China. Sa China, since sila yung nagpauso ng tinatawag natin civil service, regardless whether mahirap ka or kung saan ka man nagmula, pag naipasa mo yung talent test nila o yung civil service nila, doon ka bibigyan ng magandang position. The highest, kumbaga yung the top notcher in their civil service exam will definitely become one of the right hands of the emperor. So, yan tinatawag na meritocracy. Pero pag aristocracy naman, ito na yung rule by wealthy and the powerful. Ito yung rule by those of noble birth, culture of elitism. So, A, C, and D are all, ito naman yung aristocracy naman ito. Okay, ang focus niya is yung yaman, galing, pedigree, di ba? Yung gano'n. So, kung ikaw ay isang mayamang pamilya, Zobel ka, kahit sino pwede mong asawahin, parang gano'n. Pero, pag meritocracy naman, ito naman yung batay naman ito sa galing mo. Pag magaling ka, kahit mahirap ka, yayaman ka. Yon. So, the answer here is letter B, leadership by the people of talent. Pero sa Pilipinas, I don't think it's happening. Diba? Dito, leadership according to popularity. Mas popular ka, mananalo ka. Kung minsan pati artista na wala namang alam, parang, Diyos ko dahi, parang clown, di ba? Nagiging official ng bansa natin. How sad. Diba?
How sad.
Correct.
So number 8 po is letter B.
Tama si Sheila.
Mm-hmm. So number 9 po tayo, Sir Noy.
Okay. Now, whose view gives prominence to the faith in understanding the existence of God? So ito isang filosofiya, no, na inaaral yung posibilidad na ang Diyos talaga ay nandiyan, existence, presence of God. Actually, even if you don't study philosophy, by merely looking at all these people, you can already derive at a possible right answer. Kahit hindi ka sure, di ba yan nga, that's the reason why we're having this CUT. We are giving you techniques on how to guess, how to manipulate itong mga options na dito. Sabi dito si Saint Benedict, si B si Saint Peter, si C si Saint Augustine, and letter C si Saint John. Okay. Definitely, si Saint Peter at si Saint John is immediately we will eradicate. Bakit? Kasi si Peter at si John, nakasama nila mismo ang Panginoon. They are part of the Last Supper. Na may pictures sila together. So they don't need to understand or they don't need to explain the existence of God because they were with God. Kasabayan nila, contemporary nila yan. So si Saint Peter and si Saint John the Beloved, di ba? Hindi nila pwedeng questioning pa yung existence of God because definitely kasama nila si Kristo, ang ating Panginoon. So dalawa yung natira. Si Saint Benedict, siyempre si Saint Benedict, matagal pa, hindi niya nakadaw upang palad ng Panginoon dahil established ang church nung ipinanganak si Saint Benedict. The same with si Bishop Augustine o si Saint Augustine. Ano? So definitely, pipili ka na lang between Saint Benedict and Saint Augustine. But the answer here really, sa totoo lang, ang sagot dito is not Saint Benedict and it's not even Saint Augustine. The answer here is Saint Thomas Aquinas. Si Saint Thomas Aquinas, as a philosopher and as a clergy, siya talaga ang nag-pioneer in questioning or in understanding or reasoning about the existence of God. So I think there was an error in this particular question. Okay? In fact, this question will be tawag dyan, it will show itself again later on, pero doon ilalabas na yung pangalan ni Saint Augustine. So, how do we handle these things? Ano? Nangyayari talaga sa board exam niya. There are two ways, okay? First, you have to look for a possible right answer. Sino yung pinakamalapit? So, kung pipilitin tayo ng pinakamalapit na sagot, then therefore, it has to be Saint Augustine. Because Saint Benedict actually is more on the labore. Siya yung nagpauso ng ora et labore, meaning to say love of God at the same time working. Ano? Yung ating work is showing how we love God. Ano? Okay. And Saint Augustine, since he is a bishop, so meron siya mga tawag dito, mga conversation and mga writings about God. Ano? So, siya yung pwedeng pinakamalapit. But, personally, ako, if this is the kind of question that I will face during the board exam, at kung nakalagay sa aking instruction, answer letter E kung wala dito yung sagot. Kasi because there are instances in the board exam that they will give that particular direction. Answer E if answer is not on the above. Meaning if it's not part of for me, kung ako, I will answer here definitely letter E because the answer here should be Saint Thomas Aquinas because of his book Summa Theologia. So ito yung dapat nating i-bust na myth, Edward. Ano? Kung minsan, huwag nating pilitin yung sarili nating pumili ng sagot. Kung talagang wala naman dyan talaga ang sagot. Kailangan sumagot tayo ng letter E. None of the above. Okay.
Teka muna yung particular scenario na yan ay kung nakalagay doon sa direction that in case among the choices A, B, C, D ay wala doon ang sagot, please shade letter E. So, doon nyo lang gagawin kung mayroong instruction na gano'n or direction na gano'n. E paano, Sir Noy, kung walang nakalagay na we have to choose letter E? Ano kaya ang kanilang isasagot?
Well, ang pinakamalapit talaga, nakatanggap-tanggap talaga, no? Kumbaga suntok sa buwan, is si Saint Augustine. Why? Because between Saint Benedict and Saint Augustine, mas may liderato si Saint Augustine because naging bishop siya. Si Saint Benedict, ang kanyang, because cloistered priest si Saint Benedict, isa siya sa mga nauna nagpasimuno ng ating tinatawag na mga mga monks. So sila ay nasa loob ng mga monasteryo. So ang may mga ultimate discussion o mga treatise about mga existence ng ganyan na mga pwedeng mag-question tungkol sa mga pananampalataya ay si Saint Augustine. Although there will be people who will say because during the medieval part of our history, the repository of all the books, repository ng mga repository ng mga books, literature, etc., were kept by the monks, and part of that is the group of Saint Benedict. Yeah, and so talagang this is it's a crazy question. So kung walang sinabing answer E, kung wala din yung sagot, I will personally answer si Saint Augustine. That's my
So yun yung pinakamalapit.
Precisely.
So makinig kayong mabuti doon dito sa question na to.
Correct.
So kung wala doon sa choices ang sagot at mayroong direction that you have to choose letter E, shade nyo yung letter E. Pero kung walang ganong direction, siguro you will go for the closest.
Yes. Do not leave any item blank. Yung lagi ko madalas sabihin sa kanila. Do not leave any item blank. Not because, hindi dahil titigil yung scanner at hindi niya babasahin sa sagot mo. Mali yun. Hindi ka mag-leave ng item na blank because the moment you leave an item blank, you lose immediately 25% chance of getting the right answer. Kahit nakapikit tayo at nag-shade ka ng isang letter, you immediately have a 25% chance of getting the right answer. Pero pag wala kang shinade doon, you have 0% chance. Alam mo sa taong mamamatay, I always tell this, 25% of life is a lot higher than 0%.
0%.
Correct. Diba? So kung walang nakalagay na E for none of the above, then Answer letter C. Pikit mata, suntok sa buwan. Diba? Yun
Okay po.
yun.
Okay.
Okay?
Number 10, Sir Noy.
Okay. Number 10. Ako pa rin ito eh. Now, this field, okay, deals with the study of how human beings behave. Naku, pag hindi natin nasagot ito, nakakahiya tayo, no? Oo, philosophy, morality, psychology, ethics. Ito, una-una, alam ko alam niyo ang sagot, pero let's work on our techniques. Dito makikita mo, di ba, morality and ethics are somewhat related. Okay? The more specific, kumbaga, if you want to become specific, it's about, tawag dyan, that's morality. The general term for that is yung ethics. The application dyan, yung mga morals na lang natin. So therefore, di ba sabi natin, if B is equal to D and D is equal to B, then definitely neither B nor D will be the right answer. So therefore, tatanggalin na natin si morality at si ethics because pareho lang yan eh. They're equal. So definitely, hindi sila kasali dito. Matitira na lang si filosofiya at psikolohiya. When you say filosofiya is, di ba, philo, knowledge. Pag, di ba, love of, Sophia rather. Sophia is learning, knowledge. Philo is love for knowledge. So definitely, has nothing to do with human behavior. So what is the right answer here? Psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of human behavior. Human, you always have to emphasize human behavior. Because if it's an animal behavior you're interested in, then it's not psychology. Okay? Pag animal behavior, the right science for that will be ethology. Ethology deals with the scientific behavior, scientific study of animal behavior. Pag tao, human being, psychology. Pag hayop, ethology. Okay? Very
Okay
easy ito. Easy lang yan.
Yung number 11, Sir Noy, tapos na po ni Attorney Taginod.
Yes.
At doon po ata, check and balance po ata ang sagot doon.
Yes.
Tama po, Ate Clarissa, letter C.
Tama.
Number 12 po tayo. Kayo po uli, Sir Noy.
Naku, marami sa sociology and psychology. No? Okay. How about, this is very interesting. In fact, this particular question, I also sought the help of another specialist kasi very tricky na naman itong tanong na to. Ibabas na naman natin ang myth na ito. Sabi dito, which of the following is considered the lowest form of learning? Isa sa pinaka-main interest ng teacher is how our students are learning. Ano? And in terms of learning, syempre may it's hierarchy. May mababa, pataas ang pataas. Among the four, let's read first, perceiving, responding, conditioning, and then teaching, immediately you have to eradicate the obvious wrong answer. So since lowest ang hinahanap, tanggalin mo na yung pinakamataas. And the highest among A, B, C, and D is of course teaching. That's the highest form. Diba? Among the four, ito yung pinakamataas because when you say teaching, there is another organism that has to crystallize yung learning. Ano? Complex na yan. Teaching is a complex activity na yan. Kailangan na ng teacher dyan. Kailangan na ng something dyan para mag-crystallize yung learning mo. So, tanggal na si teaching. So, tatlo na lang. Perceiving, responding, conditioning. Okay. If you can eradicate one more, di ba yan ang technique natin? Eradicate one more, tataas yung chance mo to get the right answer. So ngayon, since na-remove mo na si teaching, A, B, and C now has 33.3% chance of being the right answer. If you can remove one more, then your chance will be 50-50 na. Ang taas na ng chance mo. And among the three, perceiving, responding, conditioning, ang pinakamataas sa tatlong yan will be conditioning. Because again, when you say conditioning, there must be an external factor for conditioning to happen. Remember the salivation of the dog, di ba? Bakit nag-salivation yung dog? Because, of course, Pavlov, yung scientist, meron siyang ginawa para ma-condition yung behavior ng dog. So, it's a complex learning also. Conditioning is a complex form of learning. Kailangan ng outsider dyan para mangyari yan. So, if you are able to remove letter C, very good na kayo. Dalawa na lang yung chance pagpipilian nyo, perceiving, responding. So, kung di mo man alam, perceiving or responding, manghula ka man sa dalawa, hindi ka na kinakabahan because you have 50% chance of getting the right answer. Okay na yun. Kung makuha mo pa yung tama, di ang swerte mo pa. Okay, so dalawa pag-usapan natin dito. Perceiving and then responding. Okay. Ang sabi ang basis natin dito will become si Bloom, ano? Okay, si Bloom. Siya yung, kasi isa siya sa cognitive taxonomy. Okay. Although sa ating affective domain, remember, ang lowest form ng affective domain is actually tawag yan, RR-VOC, receiving, responding. Doon na-mention sa responding. Okay. But according to Bloom, taxonomy niya, okay, isa sa kanyang mga work, he mentioned that perceiving is the lowest form of learning. So, i-explain natin bakit perceiving ang lowest form of learning. Okay. Ang perception, okay, perceiving from perception, it has to be triggered by sensation. Okay? Sensation is whatever, if a part of your senses is triggered, diba, by certain things, like for example, there's an apple in front of you. The way your retina, your eye, the way the cells in your eye will look at the apple, that is part of the sensation. Pagpasok ng bagay na yon, yung image na yon sa ating mata at i-process ng ating isipan, that is sensation, the process yun. Ano, sense learning yun. Okay. And then, tawag dito, doon nagsisimula yung learning. Kasi pag napasok na sa'yo, sensation, nagkakaroon ka na ng perception. After ng perception, saka ka na makakapag-respond. Okay, so between perceiving and responding, mas mauuna talaga si perceiving. So the answer here is letter A. So because siya yung mauuna, siya din yung lowest. So pag binago ng PRC ang tanong, among the following learning, arrange the following in order of say for example, of complexity, from lowest to the highest. Ang arrangement natin will be, the first one will be perceiving, followed by responding, followed by conditioning, the highest is teaching. Pag binago ang tanong ulit, which of the following is considered the highest form of learning? So among the four, the highest form of learning there is, of course, teaching. Gets natin? But you can, tandaan, you cannot respond kung wala ka pang perception. You have to perceive first before you have to respond. So that's the answer. So may tumama ba? That the answer here is letter A.
Perceiving. Tama po siya ng lahat, Sir Noy.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Nakuha nila yon.
Number 13 po, Sir Noy. Sa'yo pa rin to.
Akin na naman. Okay. Sige. Sige. Sabi dito, the Filipinos are deeply religious. Agree. Totoo naman yan, di ba? Tayo lang naman ang bansa na nadaan lang tayo sa simbahan. Nagkukrus agad tayo. Kulang na lang lumuhod tayo sa tricycle, di ba? Ganyan tayo sa religious. Okay. However, sa sobrang religious natin, it instilled the negative attitude of black. Totoo yan. Our strength also becomes our weakness. Our extreme religiosity also becomes our negative trait. Ano dito ang binibigay na negative trait ng ating pagiging sobrang religyoso? A, social responsibility to participate in the development of society. Is this a negative trait? Ang technique dito, lagyan mo ng plus or minus sign sa dulo. I don't think this is negative. This is a positive trait, di ba? When you are responsible socially, you participate in the development of your community, that's a positive trait. How about letter B? Resignation, which leads to doing nothing to improve one's condition. Parang suko ka na, wala na akong magagawa, ganito na talaga. Parang, di ba? Mamatay na kung mamatay. Parang ganun lang siya. So, is that positive? I don't think so. That is a very negative trait. When you resign and you do nothing anymore, wala, mahirap lang ako eh. Wala, ito lang ako eh. That's a very negative trait. So, negative yan. Letter C, total surrender to God in times of helplessness is the best. I think that's true. When you cannot do anything anymore, di ba? Especially during the yung mga health, like for example, if you are afflicted with COVID and you are already in the ICU, I think you have to totally surrender yourself to God now because there's nothing else you can do. Yun na yun. And that's positive. Then letter D, the Lord who is omnipotent and omniscient will allow what is best. That's also positive. Totoo naman yun. Isang positive paniniwala because God is omniscient, all-knowing, omnipotent, ever-present, di ba? Alpha and the Omega. So He will be the one to give, He will allow what's best, di ba? Expect the best thing to happen. So among the four, if you see the arrangement, it will be plus, minus, plus, plus. So by just merely looking at the odd man out, then the answer will be letter B. So resigning and not doing nothing to improve your condition, that is a very negative thing. Because, sabi nga, di ba, nasa Diyos ang awa, nasa tao
ang gawa.
Correct. Kahit magdadaldal kami dito ngayong magdamag, hindi naman kayo mag-aaral din. Walang mangyayari. Di ba? Yun yun. Pero ako pa rin ba? Susunod?
Ikaw pa rin, sir. Number 14.
Ang taray naman. Ako pa din. Okay. This is interesting. This is also very interesting because this is this is philosophy. It's part of philosophy. It is basically on Eastern philosophy. Eastern religion is best related to this concept. Alam mo, if you divide the world, dalawa lang naman ang daigdig, di ba? It's the East and then the West, di ba? East and the West. Noon, nung simple pa ang mga bagay-bagay, nung bata pa si Isabel, ang daigdig ay nahati lamang sa dalawa. If you're from the East, Eastern ka. If you're from the West, European ka, yan ang West, ano? Okay. Now, pag pinag-usapan ng relihiyon ng ating ng silangan ng East, ano? Patungkol saan ang kanyang konsepto? Marami nagkamali dito. A, optimism. B, secularism. C, mysticism. Or letter D, pessimism. Okay. When you say optimism, it is, it is a trait that you look at the positive side of life. Positive, parang lahat maganda yung tingin mo kahit masama yung nangyayari. The opposite of optimism is pessimism. Pag pessimistic naman, di ba, lagi na lang negative, nega ka, di ba? Halimbawa, nililigawan ka pa lang, ang iniisip mo na, naku, baka may asawa to, ay, naku, loko-loko ito. Di ba? Kaya ka nawawalan ng chances sa buhay kasi, nagsisimula pa lang, nega ka na. Yung optimism naman, di ba, positive ka lahat, di ba? Nagpaparamdam pa lang, jowa mo na siya, naman siya masyado, no? So therefore, opposite yan, optimism and pessimism. Ang religion is not described by whether optimism or pessimism. That's number one. Because all religion is basically towards positivity, So it's always geared toward optimism. So ang religion is not about pessimism. So therefore, aalisin natin sa equation si pessimism. Okay? So optimism, isali natin, pero is it really the answer? There are other answer here. B, secularism. Pag sinabing secularism, okay, may bahagi na ang estado dito. Ang secularism kasi is the religion, okay, is handled by the state in such a way na pinababayaan nila yung kanilang mga tao, yung mga nasasakupan nila, i-practice yung kanilang pananampalataya. That is secularism. So, halimbawa sa Europa, di ba, as much as possible, they try to be equal with all the existing religions. For example, in the old England, sa Old England culture, di ba? Naglalaban doon ang Protestante at ang tawag dito ang Catholicism, di ba? But the government practiced at the time, during time of Elizabeth, the first Elizabeth, secularism, di ba? Okay lang kung hindi ka Protestante, may karapatan ka pa rin kahit na Kristiyano ka, although siya mismo ay Protestante siya, parang gano'n, ano? Now, ito ba yung nagdi-describe ng Eastern religion? No. Secularism is very evident in Europe. So this is the West. Pag Eastern religion, ano yung mga Eastern religion? Buddhism. Diba? Yan yung mga Buddhism.
Hinduism, sir.
Hinduism. Yan ang mga religion sa silangan, sa East, sa atin. It is characterized by mysticism. Mystic. When you say mysticism, ito yung tawag dito, parang it's a very Eastern concept. It's a very Eastern concept of God. Talagang there is mystery to it, di ba? Not to the point that even the government, talagang they put prime on this particular point of view sa religion na yan. So for those who answered optimism, I don't think it is the right answer because religion in the East is characterized by mysticism. Religion in the West is characterized by secularism. Okay. Ang mysticism is more on very prayerful, reflection, mga ganyan, which is very East. Kaya nga, di ba, may
yoga,
diba?
Sir, di ba? May yoga.
Yan, mysticism yan, yung mga bell, sa Tibet, di ba? Isip na naman yan, di ba? Ang secularism is heady, you talk, existence of God. St. Thomas Aquinas, West yun. Ganon. Okay?
Yeah. Okay po.
Yeah. Next.
Sir, 15, wala po number 15. Number 16, sir, ikaw ulit ito.
Ano ba yan? Ako naman. Okay. Sige. Ito napakadali na nito. The Philippines is an example of a predominantly blank country in the world. Obviously, we are a Christian country. Hindi tayo komunista, hindi tayo Buddhist, hindi rin tayo Muslim. Magiging sagot lang ang Muslim kung ang tanong ay pre-colonial Philippines is an example of a predominantly blank country in the world. Kung pre-colonial, ibig sabihin pre-Magellanic, meaning bago dumating si Magellan, then Muslim tayo. From north to south, the Philippines is basically a Muslim country. Di ba? Pre-Magellan. Pero since wala naman si pre-Magellan dito, present time ito, Philippines, then Christian. Because majority of North, which is the Luzon, majority of the Mid, which is the Visayas, combine it together, mas higit na madami talaga ang Christian. But it doesn't mean naman na we do not recognize the presence of the Muslim people in the Philippines. But predominantly, tayo ay Christian. Ayun.
Okay. Number 17 po.
Ako na
Ito
naman.
po ay, ako na sir to.
Alam ko ako na naman.
Actually, Sir Noy, dapat to sa English. This is for literature sana, pero nagkasama sa Soksay. Sabi
sige.
dito, analects, which are short and witty sayings that are treat moral values and good human relations, are attributed to this Chinese writer. This is quite easy. Ito ay si Confucius. And he is known for his aphorisms. Ayun po yung mga maiksi na nagtuturo ng mga lessons kung paano ba tayo dapat paano dapat mabuhay sa mundong ito. Yan. So ito, ang mga analects ay collection ng mga aphorisms o mga lessons na galing kay Confucius. So my dear friends, number 17, the answer is B, Confucius.
Yeah. And if I may add, baka lumabas naman, ibahin naman ng PRC. Pag si Mao Zedong, o Mao Zedong, ang kanyang famous book is called The Little Red Book. It was published in 1964. Bago lang ito. Bagong libro lang ito ni Mao Zedong. Si Chairman Mao, At nilalaman naman ito yung paano magpapalakad ang communism. Basically, communism, na sinasabi niya doon na ang communism, it's not a dinner, it's really laban, madugo. Di ba? Kung takot ka, huwag ka na sumalik siya. Mao Zedong yun. Si
Lao Tzu naman, ay, sige, sorry ka po. Si Mencius.
Si Mencius is actually, the book is basically conversation lang. Pag-usap niya ito kay Kongzi, isa sa mga parang disipulo niya. Di ba? It was written in 300 BC. At ang sinasabi niya dito, the main concern of his book, Mencius, is humans are inherently good. Yan sinasabi niya. Yes. Si Lao Tzu, si Sir Ed.
Daoism naman ito. Yung
si
yin
Lao
at
Tzu,
ang yang. Yan.
Yes. Ang Lao Tzu is actually the harmony naman ng universe. Kaya yung yin-yang, harmony. Diba? Positivity, negativity, harmony. So Taoism is the same as Taoism. Huwag kayo malilito doon. Kaya pag lumabas, letter A, Taoism. Letter B, Taoism. Tanggalin nyo na yan dahil pareho lang ibig sabihin nun. Ang dami-dami nalilito. Big pronunciation ng Taoism, Taoism.
Taoism. Totoo. Tumpak. So, ang sagot dito mga kaibigan, number 17 is letter B. Number 18 tayo, Te Clarissa. Sabi dito, if Lolita wants to revive past glory, but this time in a variety of ways, which artistic tradition will she adhere to? Pero Sir Noy, gusto ko malaman ang sagot ng mga bata. Kayo ba? Ano ba ang sagot nyo dito? Sige nga, patype nga ako nung sagot nyo dito. Tingnan natin, mga kaibigan. Tama naman pala kayo eh. Very good. Kasi akala ko makakonfuse kayo dito eh. Kasi my dear friends, when we say classical, technically, mga kaibigan sa world of art, when we say classical, it pertains to the Greco-Roman antiquity. Yung po yung parang pinaka-technical definition niya. Pero in layman's term, classical pertains to something old. Pero technically, when we say classical, may it be literature or may it be art, it pertains to the Greco-Roman antiquity. Now, ang tanong, bakit classical ang sagot dito? Meron tayong mga clues. Number 1 is yung past glory. At number 2, look at the options. Ang antique is ito yung, di ba Sir Noy, may ka sa antique, marami kang mga antique, di ba yung mga lumang bagay na mahalaga sa atin.
Antique.
Ayan, like antique up ng Sir Noy. Now, when we say modern art, mga kaibigan, this started around 1860 up until 1970. Na ito naman ay sinimulan ni Gustave Courbet nung they steered away from depicting yung mga gods and goddesses, yung mga kings and queens sa art at nagsimulang ipinta ang mga pangkaraniwang tao. Nagpatuloy sa mga impressionist, kila Claude Monet, kila Edward Manet. So ito ay yung modern art. At yung contemporary, syempre, ang art natin sa panahon ngayon. So clearly, my dear friends, in number 18, the answer is classical. Ayan, classical tayo. Next, number 19. I think ito ay economics. Ma'am Jen?
Number 19. What economic policy in 16th century Europe prompted Spain to discover new lands? Anong hinahanap? Economic policy. So among the choices, ang hindi economic policy dyan ay ang tanggalin na natin. So spice trading at saka yung colonialism. So ano ang matitira? Letter B and letter C. Capitalism, yung letter B, at C is mercantilism. So pag sinabing capitalism, ang agad na dapat yung maisip ay ang Industrial Revolution kasi doon siya nag-start ang capitalism. Same country, Europe, kaya lang nagsimula ang capitalism ng 18th century. So mas late siya ng konti sa 16th century. So ano ang tamang sagot? Kung hindi nyo alam ang history ng mercantilism, so yung mercantilism ang correct answer. No, kasi familiar tayo sa capitalism, yung mercantilism hindi masyado siyang ginagamit as economic policy nung araw nga, nung 16th century. So, ang correct answer is letter C, economic policy during 16th century in Europe.
Sir Noy?
And if I may add, kasi marami nalilitong estudyante sa mga 16th century, 17th century, 18th century. Pag nakita niyo mga ganyang century, you always subtract 100 para makita niyo anong year yan. So, ang 16th century, we're talking about 1521, 1522, nung panahon ito ni Magellan. Okay? So, akala kasi nila, pag sabing 16th century, 1610,
1600.
No. You have to subtract 100. Yan yung year na tinatawag na 16th century. So, tayo ngayon, because we are now on anong century na tayo ngayon?
21st
century na tayo.
Okay. At Sir Noy, ikaw na ulito. Number 20, wala po sa atin. And then number 21, ang ating consti kanina, nasagot na to. Number 22, balik sa'yo, Sir Noy, philosophy.
Oh, I think ito na naman yun. Ito yung parang na-reincarnate yung questionable tanong kanina. When they talk about the existence of God.
Ngayon may sagot na.
Which ito yung exact words naman talaga nila. Sinabi na nung ating tamang sagot dito. That reason must be used in understanding the existence of God. Because this particular philosopher said that there is really logic. There is logic involved in the understanding of God. That's why noon, during his time, sa totoo lang, only the talented one, meritocracy, only the talented one can really enter the clergy. Pag matalino ka, pwede ka maging pare. Pag bobo-bobo ka, doon ka lang, tagalampasok ka lang, taga-alaga ka lang ng kabayo. Kagaya. Yes, I'm not joking. A lot of very pious religious people, pero aanga-anga, kagaya ni St. John Marie Vianney. Di ba? Special child, medyo slow learner. O anong ginawa sa kanya? Diyan ka lang sa likod, tagalinis ka lang. Kasi sabi ng mga pari noon, you need logic, you need reason to understand God. O kanino nagmula ito? St. Benedict, St. Peter, St. John, St. Thomas Aquinas.
St.
Definitely.
Thomas.
Okay, di ba? And he wrote a book.
Summa
Theologica. That's the reason why, kumbaga yun ang dissertation niya, he became a doctor of the church. Kumbaga may PhD ang lolo natin sa pagiging, may doktorado sa pagiging pag-aaral niya ng
theology, sir.
Si Peter and John, again, do not opt that for that answer. Huwag piliin yan kasi they don't need to
nawala po
prove the existence of God because kabricks yan ni Jesus Christ. Di ba? Hindi pwedeng maging sagot si St. Peter at si St. John kasi kabricks yan ni Jesus Christ. They know the existence already. Proven na yan. Bricks sila di ba?
Pero Sir Noy, ang dito interesting, di ba? Parang wala naman si St. Augustine dito. Siya naman yung nawala, di ba? So talagang obvious na talaga nagkamali yung unang tanong.
Obvious na nagkamali. Okay, I have to tell you this. I've seen, habang pinaprepare ko tong ating CUT for tonight, nag-check ako ng mga side, Edward. At nakita ko, lumalabas ito. I don't know kung sino nagsimula, basta kung saan-saan naglabasan ng mga site.
Totoo po.
At nakakatakot, Edward. Iba-iba ang mga sagot.
Totoo.
Diba? Nakita ko yung isang Facebook site na pinakita yung tanong, kasi may puso, yun ang tamang sagot. Pag may puso, yun daw ang tamang sagot. Natatakot ako dahil ang ibang tao naniniwala na yun ang tamang sagot. Pero which is really, really wrong. Okay? Dapat may sarili tayong bait, ha? Sariling bait dapat tayo. We have to listen and then research. Mag-aral tayo. Yan. Reasoning is needed.
And then po, number 24 po. Wala po tayo number 23 mga kaibigan. Yung 24 po, tapos na po ni attorney kanina. Ito po ay consti. So, 25 po tayo. Sosyo. Sir Noy, back to you.
Yan naman. Considering the tayo-tayo. Totoo. Uy, na-mention ito kanina, di ba? Tayo-tayo sa meta. Ganon. Considering the tayo-tayo mentality of the Filipinos, one goal for change that should be worked on is to develop what? So from tayo-tayo, ano ang pwedeng ma-develop dito? A sense of common good, a sense of national pride, pakikisama, the habits of discipline and hard work. All these things naman can be positive. Ano? This can be all positive. But if it's related with tayo, us, then the answer here will be letter A, a sense of common good. there is already a shared, parang shared conviction, shared parang commonality, shared, what do you call it, shared commitment. So there is a sense of common good. Yung pakikisama, which is also involved with tayo-tayo, hindi siya ang pwedeng isagot dyan because pakikisama can be positive and at the same time negative. Di ba? Ang ating values na pakikisama can be negative. Why? Because ang pakikisama, dito nagkakaroon, dito lumalabas, it brings forth yung mga tawag dito, like corruption. Di ba? Dahil corrupt si boss, huwag na tayong magsalita, makisama na lang tayo. Di ba? Dahil pag hindi ka makisama, pwede kang ma-ostracize, aalisin ka nila sa grupo nila. Nangyayari yan, di ba? Na kahit na hindi naman talaga siya corrupt, dahil nakisama lang siya, o di nakasama siya sa problema. Di ba? So here, the answer here should be letter A sense of common good.
Okay po. Tama po.
Yeah.
And next po is taxation. Ma'am Jen, kayo po ito. Number 26 po.
26. This is Agrarian Reform. I think Agrarian Reform ito. Which of the following best describes the goal of Agrarian Reform? So, basahin yung mabuti ang mga choices. No? Pag sinabi natin Agrarian Reform, this program is intended for the poor people who are landless. Kaya tinawag silang poor kasi wala silang sariling lupa na kinukultivate. So, yung established once cultivated land ay siguro pwede na natin itong i-X among the consideration kasi kinukultivate na nga yung land, no? Hindi yun yung isa sa program ng our objective ng Agrarian Reform. Ensure the cultivation of all the island lands, idle lands, no? So yan, pwede. And then letter B is to distribute all arable lands to the landless. And the letter A is to abolish the shared tenancy. So tatlo yung pwede. Pero we are looking for the best. So pag sinabi mong the best, Agrarian Reform connotes to the poor people. And sino ba itong poor people who are landless? No, kaya nagkaroon ng program. So ito yung mabigyan sila ng lupa, ng sariling lupa to cultivate. The best answer or the answer should be letter B, distribute all arable lands to the landless. Yan,
so letter B.
Elevate poverty.
Yeah. But if I may add, syempre, if I may add on this Agrarian Reform, it is a flawed, ano? Medyo, hindi naman siya perfect. It is a flawed law. Ang batas na ito ay may mga sumpang kadikit ito. Dahil kung ang linaw ng sagot dito, distribute all arable, meaning yung pwede nilang araruhin, kada arable, maaararo. Ang nakakalungkot kung minsan because of may mga corruption na gaganap, ang i-distribute na lang ay mga bundok. Ano naman nila ang bundok?
Yes.
Hindi naman nila maaarable, hindi naman siya maararo.
Totoo po.
Sad.
Anyway po, number 27, ito po ay history. Ate Clarissa, sabi dito, in July 1901, Isabelo de los Reyes founded the first labor union in the country. What was its name? Ito, lagi ito lumalabas mga kaibigan. And the answer is letter B, Union Obrera Democratica. Actually, mga kaibigan, sa totoo lang, meron pong mali sa ating tanong dito. Bumalik po sa Pilipinas si Isabelo de los Reyes noong July 1901. Pero itinatag niya ang Union Obrera Democratica noong February 1902. Pero mga kaibigan, dapat tandaan na talaga ang sagot dito is yung Union Obrera Democratica. At marami pong ginawa si Isabelo de los Reyes. Ang kanyang nickname is Don Belong. Si Don Belong po, siya rin po ang nagtatag ng Iglesia Filipina Independiente. Sir, Aglipayan ito, no? Aglipayan Church ito, no? Yes. Tama po. At siya rin po ang father of Philippine folklore. Siya rin po ang father of Philippine labor movement. At siya rin po ang nag-suggest na holiday dapat ang May 1. So sir, napakadaming contributions ni Isabelo de los Reyes. Pero siya ang unang nagtayo ng first labor union sa Pilipinas. Tinatawag nating letter B, Union Obrera Democratica. So ayan. Number
Kaya pala,
27.
ang birthday ko talaga laging holiday. Labor Day talaga.
Yes. May 1.
May 1. Sir, buti hindi
Obrera.
Dondelo ang pangalan mo.
Ah? Hindi.
Obrera.
Dapat talaga ang
Obrera.
ipapangalan sa akin ay Joseph because tawag dito si Saint
Humble
Joseph.
Heart. The Humble Heart po yan.
And then laborer talaga, di ba? So,
Joseph the worker.
Ayan.
May ka-birthday ka, si Maria
Sino?
Lea.
Happy birthday!
Dapat Karen Davila style. Okay. Number 28 po is geography, my dear friends. The Philippines lies in the blank and hindi ko mabasa, where in an area where volcanoes are active. Ito ay napakasimple lang, my dear friends. I think elementary pala, alam na natin to. Ito ay ring of fire, letter B. Tayo ay kabilang sa ring of fire. Kaya tayo ay laging dinadalaw ng mga typhoon at lagi talaga may banta ng pagyanig ng lupa. Ayan. So number 28 po, again, letter B, ring of fire. Number 29, history po ito uli. Medyo marami pong tanong sa history. Sabi po dito, from 1565 to 1815, the Philippines, hindi po mabasa, engaged in the galleon trade. With this, it came in contact with this country. Ito ba ay Spain, Spice Island, China, Mexico. Mga kaibigan, hindi pwede maging Spain kasi part nga, di ba, tayong ay sinakop ng Espanyol. At hindi din pwedeng China. Kaibigan, kasi galleon. So my dear friends, ang sagot dito ay Mexico. Ayan. And I think, sir, tama po ba ako? Particularly sa Acapulco. Tama po ba ako? Acapulco talaga.
Okay, that is exactly the reason because we are governed from Mexico. Hindi naman talaga tayo governed from Spain. Hindi tayo Madrileño, hindi tayo civil, hindi tayo taga-civil. So tayo ay Mexican. So that's the reason why when you look at our behavior, psychology, pareho ang behavior ng Mexicano at ng mga Pilipino. Latino tayo, meaning to say we are misplaced in the area here in Asia. Mahilig sa fiesta, mahilig sa mga tawag diyan, mga kantahan, kahit na naghihirap, nagigitara pa din. That is the sentiment of mga Mexicano talaga yan.
Tsaka sa Blessed Virgin Mary, sa religion, ayan, kuha natin yan.
So,
tama.
Wag tayo, tanggalin natin sa ating hallucination na tayo ay pinalakad mula sa Espanya. Kalokohan yun. Hindi naman tayo doon. Ang pamamalakad ay nagmula sa Mexico. Although Spanish yun, pero syempre, Mexicano, mababang uri.
Ay Talia tayo, sir. Ano?
Talia lang tayo. Talia.
Number 3.
Mahilig sa boxing. Mahilig sa sabong.
Telenovela.
That's very Mexican.
Tama.
Mahilig sa kay Pulgoso.
Sa aso.
Diba?
Sa Guadalupe, di ba yung mga birhen?
Guadalupe.
Ayan, tama. Okay. Number 30 po, wala po tayong number 30. Number 31 po ay history once again. So ito po, sir, Ma'am Jen, very technical ito kasi may date. Sabi dito, this August 29 law by the US Congress established partial free trade in the Philippines. Actually, sir, Ma'am Jen, based on my research, tatlo dito ay trade parang trade acts ito, except sa Treaty of General Relations. Kasi po yung letter C, yung Treaty of General Relations, dito po diniscuss na dapat aalis na talaga ang Amerikano at iiwanan na talaga ang Pilipinas bilang isang sovereign nation. So, out na po yung letter C. Is either Bell Trade, Payne-Aldrich Act, or Underwood-Simmons. Pero, Sir Noy, Ma'am Jen, at sa ating mga reviewees, ang Bell Trade ay nilagdaan noong 1946. Yung Underwood-Simmons ay nilagdaan noong 1913. At yung Treaty of General Relations ay nilagdaan noong 1946. Ang isa lang act na nilagdaan noong 1909 ay ang Payne-Aldrich Act. At yun ay letter B. So tama ang sagot ng ating mga estudyante. Very good kayo dyan, my dear friends. Ayan, very good kayo dyan. 31 is letter B. Okay, how about number 32?
Ay, ito, isa namang ano to.
Sir, sa'yo to.
Controversial.
Everybody, makinig kayong lahat dito. Bahalaga to.
Okay. Sabi, if the family is matriarchal, who will the leader be? So definitely the answer is a woman. Babae ang sagot. Matriarka, matrushka. You say matrushka sa Russia, babae to. So, pero ang apat na, babae naman talaga lahat sila. Grandmother, mother, oldest sister or aunt. Okay, so may
Sir,
hierarchy.
no?
So there are really, may mga society na talagang babae. Babae ang leader talaga nila. Like for example, ang Italy. Italy is a very matriarchal society. Talagang yung pinakamataas din babae talaga sa pamilya nila. So, syempre, pag tinignan mo dito, ang una mo makikita talaga is from the word mother kasi nga matriarch is the mother. However, tandaan, but may mali sa tanong. Because if all these people is living in one house, kapag nakatira ang lahat ng babaeng ito sa isang tahanan,
Oo nga.
the highest, the matriarch, will not be the mother, it will be the grandmother.
Oh my goodness.
Kasi the respect will be accorded to the one oldest, yung pinakamatandang babae sa loob ng tahanan sa kanyang magmumula ang desisyon. So kahit na tawag dyan, matanda na siya pa rin ang pwedeng magsabi ng ito ang gagawin, ito ang di gagawin. So may issue tayo dito. Pero since hindi binanggit na ang mga babaeng ito ay nakatira sa iisang bubong,
isang bahay.
Okay? So sino ang magiging tamang sagot? The answer pa rin will become letter B, mother. Because the mother, tandaan, the mother can be a grandmother of somebody living in the house. So for example, di ba? Nakatira ako sa nanay ko. Di ba? Meron akong anak. Di ba? So ang leader namin ay ang aking nanay na lola naman ng aking anak.
Aha.
Tuha? Yes.
Totoo po.
And still, this person is still a mother. Mother pa din siya.
So, ibig sabihin, sir, lalawin ko lang po, since we cannot determine kung yung grandmother ay nakatira sa isang bahay, ang sure talaga is lahat ng bahay may nanay.
Yes.
So, talagang mother talaga.
Pero pag halimbawa, ang tanong, if the family is an extended family, halimbawa, extended, kasi sa Pilipinas, marami extended family, kasali ang mga ibang kamag-anak. Then, the leader will be the grandmother. Oo. Pero pag unit lang, as parang nuclear family, then, he will be the mother. So, yung mother pa rin, di ba? Pero ang Pilipinas, hindi naman tayo matriarchal, di ba? Tayo ay patriarchal. That's the reason why ang tatay ang umuupo doon sa kabisera ng lamesa. Naka-reserve sa kanya yon dahil siya ang gagawa ng desisyon. Diba?
Tama. So, sir, for this item, B po ang sagot. The mother.
Letter B. Yes.
Ayan, mother. So, number 32, B, mother. Ayan. How about number 33? Ito atay history, sir, History and he is considered as the father of the local government code. Si Joelina ba ito? Joseph Estrada, Jovito Salonga, or Aquilino Pimentel. Sir, parang kakamatay lang niya, Tama po ba ako? Kakamatay lang niya. My dear friends, the answer for this particular question is letter D, sa Aquilino Pimentel. I think, sir, Nene, tama po ba ang kanyang palayaw? Siya ba yung Nene? Aquilino Nene Pimentel. So siya po ang kinoconsider natin na father of local government code. Anak po niya, sir, si Coco.
Si Coco. Yes.
Okay.
Nene Coco.
Nene Coco. So, my dear friends, number 33, the answer is letter D. Number 34 ay pwedeng literature, pwede ring art app, pwede rin namang soksay. Sabi dito, the Indian sacred hymns are enshrined in this compendium. A, Rigveda. B, Mahabharata or Mahabharat, if you want to be so strict about it. We have C, Upanishads, or D, Ramayana. Now, mga kaibigan, tandaan natin na ang Rigveda ay ang pinakaunang Indian text. At dito ang kinuha yung salitang Vedic, yung Vedic Sanskrit. At ang Rigveda ay isang collection ng 1,000 hymns. So, my dear friends, for number 34, the answer is Rigveda. Ang Mahabharata naman ay isa sa mga pinakamahabang epics ng India. Ang Upanishad ay isa sa mga holy books na nakasulat din sa Vedic Sanskrit. At ang Ramayana, isa pang sikat na epic. Pero my dear friends, when we say hymns, the answer is the Rigveda. Letter A. So ayan. Number 35. I think ito ay history once again. At Sir Noy, natuwa ko kasi parang I'm part of history. Ang sabi dito, during the June 12, 1898 Declaration of Independence, a band played the Marcha Nacional Filipino. What band was this? Anong sagot niyo dito mga kaibigan? Is it A, Pangkat Kawayan ng Pateros? B, Kawit Cavite Band? C, Malabon Band? Or D, San Francisco de Malabon? Sige nga, anong sagot niyo dito? Malabon Band nga lang ba? Nako, ayan. Sir, parang marami nakakonfuse dito Kasi siguro sipin nyo, pwede ng Kawit Band. Kasi nga, ang bandila ay hinoys sa kawit. Pero my dear friends, ang bandang tumugtog ng Marcha Nacional ay ang San Francisco de Malabon. Ayan. So tandaan mga kaibigan na San Francisco de Malabon. At ang Malabon pala, Sir, Ma'am Jen, ngayon ko nalalaman ang bago pala niyang pangalan sa Cavite ay General Trias. Oo, ito dito ako nakatira. Yes. So nasa kaya ang San Francisco del Malabon Band. So my dear friends, for number 35, the answer is letter D. Next tayo. Number 37. So wala po tayong number 36, my dear friends. Number 37. Marcelo H. del Pilar condemned the hidden control and domination by Spanish religious priests over the colonial government using this term. Ito ba ay, parang, sir, mahirap lang sa pagpigkas nito. Ito ba ay Pase Region, Las Suerte Partidas, Complache, or Frailio Crasha? And I think everybody knows this, lalong-lalo na pag si Marcelo H. del Pilar ang pinag-uusapan natin. Remember, talagang palaban si Marcelo. Di ba nga, meron siya mga tula na talagang patama sa mga fraile, yung fray botod, di ba? Kung saan kinumpare niya ang mga fraile na malalaki ang tiyan. At tingin ko, alam niyo sagot dito. Sige nga, what is your answer, my dear friends? Letter D? Well, tama kayo. Kasi mga kaibigan, when we say Fray Lucracia, ito po yung pananaw na ang namumuno ng palihim sa Pilipinas ay hindi ang gobyerno kung hindi ang mga fraile. So my dear friends, the answer in number 37 is letter D, Fray Lucracia. Okay. Number 38 ay nasagot na po ni attorney dahil ito po ay Constitution. Number 39 po, mga kaibigan, balik tayo kay Sir Noy. Back to you.
Ito talaga, na-imbiyer na ako. Na-imbiyer na ako dito.
So Sir Noy, isa na naman tong mahirap na tanong. So everybody pay attention na talagang mahirap yung mga tanong kay Sir Noy, ano? Sir, take it away.
Kung tutuusin, napakadali naman ang tanong na ito, di ba? Kasi father of modern psychology, di ba? Dali yan, kahit walang option, masasagot yan ng isang nag-aral ng psikolohiya o kaya nag-aral ng edukasyon, ano? Because when you say father of modern psychology, the first thing that will come to your, the first person that will come to your mind will be Sigmund Freud. Si Sigmund Freud ang tatay talaga ng modernong psikolohiya.
Totoo po yan, sir. No?
Of course, because he's not just the father of psychology, modern psychology, he is also the founder of psychoanalysis. Yes. Mm-hmm. Kung wala si Sigmund Freud, there are other people whom we can consider as the father of modern psychology. And one of them will be Wilhelm Wundt. Si Wilhelm Wundt, German ito, siya yung nagtayo ng the first psychological laboratory in Leipzig, Germany. And
well, naman dito, sir.
And that laboratory, in the one in Leipzig, started the modernity of psychology. Prior to the laboratory, ang psikolohiya ay parang pseudoscience, hindi siya scientific. Naniniwala sa mga ano, like for example, bago dumating sila Wilhelm Wundt, naniniwala ang mga pseudo-psychologists noon na ang ugali, ang personality halimbawa ng tao ay batay sa kanyang mukha, sa shape ng kanyang mukha. Pag malapad ang noo, matalino. Slanted ang mata, traidor. Malaki ang bibig, chismosa. This is not good. Hindi scientific yan. Diba? Phrenology yon. So, napaka hindi scientific. Yan ang ginawa ni Wilhelm Wundt. Ginawa niyang scientific ang psikolohiya. Nagtayo siya ng laboratorio. So, siya rin ang pwedeng i-consider na tatay ng modernong psikolohiya o tatay ng scientificong psikolohiya. Kung wala si Wilhelm Wundt, then we maintain it should be si Sigmund Freud because he is also the father of psychoanalysis. Pagdating dito sa ating 39, wala si Sigmund Freud, wala din si Wilhelm Wundt. So,
sir, pwede bang protozoa ang sagot ko dyan, sir?
Pero may protozoa.
Definitely, hindi one-celled organism. Hindi one-celled organism ang magiging diba?
Protozoa.
Magwawala sa kanilang mga himlayan ang mga sikat na mga psychologists pag sinagot natin ay si protozoa. Diba? Hindi naman amoeba ang father of psychology. Okay, so kilalanin natin isa-isa ito. Sino ba itong mga ito? Okay, si Thorndike, ay tinatawag ito the father of educational psychology. Remember, sa kanya nagmula yung mga SR theories, stimulus response, kay Thorndike and Edward Thorndike. So because of that pioneering theory, eventually, siya ang tinatawag nating ama ng psikolohiya, pero pagdating sa edukasyon, educational psychology. Si Skinner naman, si
BF.
Barhas F. Skinner, hindi siya naging tatay kailanman. Okay? Kasi meaning hindi siya kinonsider na tatay ng anumang ahensya o sangay na psikolohiya. Hindi dahil, kasi ang focus lamang ni Skinner is on, tawag dito, reinforcement. Diba? Yung kanyang reinforcement. Okay, so, mas kinilala siya doon. So, mas higher sa kanya si Thorndike. Ano? Okay, kasi itong si Skinner, si Barhas is prominent yan sa tinatawag natin na operant conditioning. Si John B. Watson naman, okay, isa siya sa mga matatandang psychologist. Isa yan eh. Halos contemporary nila si Freud. Matanda na rin siya. Siya ang kinoconsider as the father of behavioral psychology. Okay, so behaviorism. Okay, so therefore, kung halimbawa pipilitin tayong sumagot na kailangan kang pumili, walang letter E, walang none of the above, ano? Then ang pinaka-posibleng tamang sagot dito ay si letter A, John B. Watson. Dahil siya yung father of
behavioral psychology.
Okay, and psychologists remember the study of human
behavior.
So, Watson. But kung nakalagay doon sa instruction that we can opt to answer E, if you think that the answer is not found in the option, ako mismo personally, I will always answer letter E. Because in my head, in my mind, in my stomach, it is Sigmund Freud or Wilhelm Wundt ang tatay namin mga psychologists.
Okay po, noted.
I remember, Edward, when I took the board exam in 1996, there were questions there na kahit sabi ko sa estudyante, bali-balik pa rin ko man ang sikmura ko, wala talaga doon ang tamang sagot. So I took the initiative to answer letter E. Nag-shade ako talaga ng E. Bahala na si Batman kasi hindi mo ako pwedeng pilitin sumagot nang wala naman talaga dyan. So I opted for E. Siguro in the entire exam, I think I have around 5 items na may letter E. Then when the result came out, of course, I was one of the top notchers of the board exam. All these top notchers were gathered together in Malacanang for a lunch with the first family. So we had lunch in the Malacanang. And we were making chika-chika. So sabi namin, nagsagot ba kayo ng letter E? Remember, this was the first licensure exam for teachers. Believe it or not, kaming 10 naging top notchers doon, all of us answered E at one point. In short, di ba, hindi, talagang lakas loob mo sumagot kami, lahat kami. Sabi nga namin, hindi kaya tayo naging top notcher dahil tayo lang sumagot ng letter E, tawa kami ng tawa. But for me, kung talagang wala dyan ang sagot, di ba, I think I have to opt letter E, none of the above. Yun lang. But definitely, hindi si protozoa yan.
So, mali sir ang sagot ko sa protozoa. Maling-mali ako doon.
Maling-mali ka doon.
So, number 40 po tayo, mga kaibigan. Sir, ikaw po ulito.
Ako pa rin yan?
Another very controversial question.
Oo, ito nakakaloka ito. Di ba? Among the not easily observable skills, there are different skills. Okay, let's define skills. Skills are anything we learn after birth. Lahat ng bagay na matututunan mo matapos ka ipanganak, tawag ng skill. Reading is a skill. Riding a bike is a skill. Dancing is a skill. So these are the things you develop after birth. Kapag hindi ka pa pinapanganak, yung mga bagay na alam mo na, nasa loob ka pa lang ng tiyan, hindi skill ang tawag doon. Ang tawag doon ay aptitude. Halimbawa, magaling ka pa lang mag-drawing. Dala-dala mo na yan, nasa tiyan ka pa lang ng nanay mo, dala mo na yun, aptitude yun. Pero yung mga skill, ito yung nadidevelop pag pinanganak na tayo. Ang skill, dalawang klase. Madaling makita, observable, and the non-observable. Ang observable, yung nakikita natin, like yung halimbawa, tinaas ang kamay, tumatakbo, sumasayaw. Na-observe mo yan. Ang tawag sa skill na yan ay overt. Kaya nga, overt, nakikita. Ang opposite ng overt ay covert. Hindi, hidden siya. Nakatago siya. Okay. So dito, sabi dito, among the not easily observable skills is cognitive ability. Totoo yun. Ang cognition, hindi mo yan ma-observe agad-agad because it needs to be manifested by, say, paano makita yung kanyang cognitive skill? Kailangan niyang sumagot ng test. Mula sa test na yun, doon mo mabibase yung kanyang IQ, for example. Naging observable lang siya dahil doon sa IQ test. Without the IQ test, you cannot observe cognition. It is something covert, tago. Unlike dancing, you can easily see that. So, therefore, cognitive ability is A, overt, B, psychological, C, hidden, D, mental. So, obviously, you remove overt. Hindi siya overt. Kasi nga, easily observable. You also remove psychological because psychological is too broad. Di ba? Di ba? Emotion is psychological. Di ba? So, hindi siya. So, dalawa lang ang pagpipilian natin dito. Hidden or mental. Okay? Initially I was inclined to answer hidden because hidden is nearest doon sa covert. Kasi when you say cover, hidden. Okay? But the thing is, ang skill at tatanong dito is very specific. Cognitive ability.
Cognitive.
From the word cognition. Therefore, ang tawag sa skill na yan ay mental ability. Okay? So, cognitive ability is mental ability. Okay?
So, letter D, Sir Noy.
Yes. Pag ang tanong, halimbawa, not easily observable skills are called overt, psychological, hidden, mental. Ang sagot lang doon is hidden. Nagets mo, Edward?
Yes, opo, sir. Pero sir, pag wala pong cognitive, hidden. Pag may cognitive po, mental.
Kumbaga, if it's a general term that we're looking for, skills that are not observable are called hidden or covert skill. But since may mention dito of cognitive, then we have to accept and respect the word mental here. The answer here is letter D. D.
Mental. Okay, again, letter D po ang sagot sa number 40. Number 41, art up po ito, Sir Noy. So, Ate Clarissa, when classics, ito na naman, sir, yung classics. When classics are revived, how are they called in social trends? Existentialist, rationalist, humanist, or reformist? Now, mga kaibigan, ano ba sagot sa number 41? Ano ba tingin nyo dito? My dear friends, tandaan natin na when we revive the classics, yan po ang pinaka-aim ng isang movement na tinatawag nating Renaissance. My dear friends, sila Giovanni Boccaccio, sila Petrarch, lahat sila ay gustong i-revive ang classic antiquity, meaning the art of Greece and Rome. So yun po yung aim ng Renaissance. At mga kaibigan, when we say Renaissance, yan ay greatly linked sa humanism. Kaya mga kaibigan, in number 41, the answer is humanist. At I think lahat naman kayo ay tama dito. Tama, number 41 po ay C. Once again, ang number 41 po ay C. Number 42 tayo mga kaibigan. At Sir Noy, tingin ko dito, ito yung pinaka-controversial na tanong para sa akin ngayong gabi. Kasi just like you, nag-browse din po ako ng mga sagot sa iba't ibang mga websites at iba't ibang mga Facebook pages. Kaya naman, I want to ask you, my dear friends na reviewers ng CUT, ano ba ang tamang sagot dito? Ano bang sagot dito? Babasahin ko This person is the world's first mythical geographer, and he was recognized due to his vivid descriptions of lands and people encountered by his hero, Ulysses. So ito na tayo mga kaibigan. Anong sagot niyo dyan? Ayan. Marami ang sumasagot ng Homer. Actually, sige. Mag-eliminate tayo ng mga possible na maling sagot. Siyempre, si Cicero ay isang orator. Si Plato ay isang philosopher. So my dear friends, dalawa na lang po ang pagpipilian natin. It is A, Virgil, or C, Homer. At mga kaibigan, sa lahat po na nakita ko ng mga pages, sa lahat po ng mga videos na napanood ko, ang sagot lagi ay Homer. Ang tanong, si Homer nga ba ang tamang sagot? My dear friends, ang clue ay nasa text mismo. My dear friends, tandaan po natin na si Homer ay sumulat ng dalawang epics. ang Iliad at ang The Odyssey. Tandaan po natin yan. Iliad and the Odyssey. And my dear friends, si Odysseus ay character ng Greek at si Ulysses ay adaptation in Latin. Ibig sabihin mga kaibigan, Roman. So tingin ko, my dear friends, yung Homer issue na yan ay nagmadali tayong sumagot. Naging tayong hasty sa ating pagsagot na porket may Ulysses, nag-assume agad tayo na ito ay si Homer. Pero my dear friends, remember, Homer is Greek and he called his hero not Ulysses but Odysseus. So again, mga kaibigan, isa lang po yan. Pareho lang po, isang tao lang po si Ulysses at si Odysseus. Ang pagkakaiba, sa Greek, kay Homer, ang pangalan Odysseus. Sa Roman, kay Virgil, ang pangalan Ulysses. At mga kaibigan, just like Homer, si Virgil po ay sumulat din ng epic. Ang pamagat is the Aeneid, kung saan ang main character ay si Aeneas at part din doon si Ulysses.
Yeah.
Now mga kaibigan, tandaan natin, mag-iingat po tayo. Kasi po, dapat tayo ay nagsasaliksik. Oh, Sir Noy, meron po nag-comment sa akin sa pagkukorek ko sa mga bagay-bagay na to. May nag-comment, sir. Ang sabi sa akin, you may be correct, Mr. Padilla, but our answer is the answer of PRC. Sir, naloka ako. Sabi ko kasi, paano mo nalamang answer yan ng PRC? For one, never naglabas ng answer key ang PRC kahit na mga past exams. So I told that person, malamang nagsisinungaling ang source mo. Ayan. So mga kaibigan, hindi lang yan. I have evidences to prove na si Virgil ang sagot. At Sir Noy, ginagawa ko na ang video. Malapit na i-release. Pero one thing is for certain, si Virgil ang sagot. Kasi kinumpara siya ng mga experts. Ang gawa ni Virgil at ang gawa ni Homer. At ang sabi doon, mas visual si Virgil mag-describe ng mga lugar na napuntahan ng kanyang mga heroes. I have it in
talaga
text.
siya.
Oo, sir. Talagang geographer siya. Talagang na-map out niya yung pag-travel ni Aeneas mula sa Troy, papunta sa Carthage, papunta sa Rome mismo. At Sir Noy, nabasa ko pareho ang The Aeneid, ang Iliad, at ang The Odyssey. Kaya mga kaibigan, huwag po tayong magpapadala sa mga sagot na walang basihan. My dear friends, it is now time to change what your perception is about this question. Mga kaibigan, ang sagot dito ay si Virgil. Pero ang talagang mali na, ako Sir Noy, unang tingin ko palang alam ko na Virgil eh. Kasi po yung Ulysses palang kulo ko na ito ay Roman and not Greek. So ayan. So mga kaibigan, tandaan natin, si Ulysses ay Roman, Odysseus, Greek. Parang yung mga gods and goddesses natin. Diba? Sa Greece, meron tayo si Venus. Sa Roman, si Venus. Sa Greek, si Aphrodite. Diba? Mga ganon.
Si Minerva.
Minerva is Athena. Diba? So talagang ganon. So mga kaibigan, dito for number 42, kinaklarify ko lang that the answer is Virgil. Ayan. Pero kung wala pa rin kayong tiwala sa akin, do your research as well and you will discover the correct answer. Sir Noy?
Ako naman, yung sa nagsabi sa'yo na you may be right but my answer is PRC.
Sir, sabi pa niya,
I will not follow the train of thought kasi tipong kahit na kung nagkamali ang PRC, it doesn't mean I will follow them. I will stick with my gun. I'm a teacher. So kung yung tama, yun ang paninindigan ko. Diba?
Totoo, sir.
Hala sila.
Yung po ang comment niya, sabi niya, sa exam daw po, he will still answer what PRC or the answer of PRC. Pero sabi ko nga, two things. Number one, kaninong galing source yan. Pangalawa, bilang mga guro, tayo talaga ay manunumpa na magtuturo ng tama at mabuti. Dapat sa tama tayo, mga kaibigan. Sa tama tayo.
Hindi dahil yun ang popular, hindi dahil yun ang kinikilingan ng madaming tao. No, but you have to stand with the truth.
Tama.
Diba? Ay, nako.
Oh, yan. Totoo. Anyway, so number 43 na tayo, mga kaibigan. Number 43. Tsaka, Sir Noy, in fairness naman sa mga taga-Met, talagang bago humarap sa mga bata, talagang nag-research, talagang nagsasaliksik. Oh, ito. This is history. Hindi ko mabasa sa PowerPoint, sir. Teka lang. Even General Malvar's surrender even after General Malvar surrendered, there was a revolutionary leader who refused to surrender to the Americans. Instead, he declared himself president and commander-in-chief of the supreme government of the Tagalog archipelago. Who was this person? I think everybody knows this. Natutunan ko po to, sir, nung elementary ako. So, hindi sumuko si Macario Sakay. Very good. Letter
Ginawang
B.
pelikula pa ang buhay niya.
Talaga ba, sir? Sino pong gumanap?
Hindi ako nagkakamali, si Julio Diaz.
Sir, sino si Julio Diaz?
Panahon ko yata yun.
Sir, si Coco Martin po, sir, ang kilala ko.
No, sorry.
Hindi na si Julio Diaz. Si Macario Sakay po.
Yun na recollection ko. Ginawang pelikula ang buhay niya.
So, si Macario Sakay. Yan, yun po ang sagot dyan sa number 43. Actually, Sir Noy, pag naman mga history tanong, andaling itong i-confirm.
Correct.
Ito ay readily available sa internet, mga kaibigan. Number 44. So ito, favorite nito. Lagi ito lumalabas. Like, among all the religious missionaries who arrived first. Sino nga ba unang dumating? Now, mga kaibigan, ito po yung mga taon na dumating noong 1565 ang mga Agustinians. Sila yung una. Dumating noong 1578 ang mga Franciscans. Dumating noong 1581 ang mga Jesuits. Dumating noong 1587 ang mga Dominicans. At ang pinakahuling dumating ay ang mga Recollects noong 1606. So mga kaibigan, in number 44, sinong unang dumating? Letter D. The Agustinians arrived in the Philippines in the year 1565. So,
That is the reason
kaibigan,
why, sabi siguro ng estudyante, bakit naman tinatanong pa yan? Ano bang relevance? Kung tutuusin.
Oo nga sir, ba't nga ba?
Pero kung papalawakin mo ang discussion tungkol dito mo mapapansin na nung mga sinaunang panahon, dahil naunang dumating ang mga Agustinians, sila may mga pinakamagaganda at pinakamagagarang mga simbahan.
Ay, totoo, sir.
Oh, yes.
Totoo.
Diba ang San Agustin?
San Agustin.
Correct.
Tama.
Dahil sila yung
sir,
nauna
marami pa ang pondo nun, sir.
Dahil siyempre, takot na takot ang mga Pilipino sa bigay ng bigay. Pati ang mga lote, pinamimigay nila sa ngalan ng
Indulhensya plenaria, di ba, sir? Indulhensya plenaria.
Sila yung unang maraming na-recruit, ang Agustinians.
So yun, number 44. So sir, wala po tayo number 45. Let's move on to number 46. Ayan, ito naman po. Sa Angono Rizal boasts of a famous composer who became a national artist. Who is this person? Buenaventura, Cenizal, San Pedro, Cayabyab. I think everybody knows this, my dear friends. Ito ay si Lucio San Pedro. Ayan. May alam ba kayo kung anong famous niyang ginawa?
Ako may alam ako.
Meron ba kayo alam kung anong famous niyang sinulat? Sinulat ba, sir, o nag-compose ng music?
Kinompose.
Parang sila ata ni Levi Celerio, sir, ang gumawa nun, di ba? Parang nag-collab sila ni Levi Celerio. Oo, Ugoy ng Duyan, di ba, sir? Favorite ko yan. Yung Sana Di Magmaliw ang dati kong araw. Sila yan. Si Lucio San Pedro at isa pang national artist na si Levi Celerio. Pero dito, number 46, the answer is letter C.
Sino naman yung iba dyan?
Baka
tanungin nila, sino naman
si Ryan Cayabyab po, sir, ay bagong-bago lang po. I think 2018 siyang, 2018 siyang naging national artist for music. So, ayan. Si Benaventura, sir, parang hindi ko ito kilala.
Si Benaventura.
Kailan ba ito, sir?
Oh, yes. Actually, magkakapatid ito, no? Isa yung ama nila, tapos pamangkin. Parang ganyan. Magkakamag-anak sila. Si Cesar Benaventura, Alfredo Benaventura. These are mga famous naman na mga painter. Pero, pero hindi sila naging mga national artists. Okay. Si Cenizal, if I'm not mistaken, isa naman siyang actor. Filipino actor, yes. Theater actor, oo. But I'm not so sure. I don't think he became a national
artist. Parang hindi ata, sir. Parang wala pa akong nadidinig.
Okay.
Opo.
Composer din yan si Joseph Cenizal.
So for number 46, the answer is Lucio San Pedro. 47, history po ito ulit, sir. History. This Spanish mestizo priest was the pioneering leader of the native secular clergy in the secularization movement of 1861. Pero ano nga ba ang secularization? Actually, mga kaibigan, itong movement na to ay nagnanais lamang na mabigyan ng mas maraming karapatan ang mga Filipinong pare na mamuno sa kanilang mga kura paroko. So ito yung parang gusto nila na parang talagang meron namang say ang mga Filipino priests na tingin ko, sir, obvious sa Loli Metangere na si Padre Damaso ang nakakapangyari, si Padre Salvi parang lagi lang on the side. So isa yan sa mga issue talaga dyan. Yung po yung parang gusto nila magpantay ang mga Filipino o mabigyan ng karapatan ng mga Filipinong pare sa kanilang mga kura paroko. And in here, my dear friends, ano sagot nyo? Tama. Ang gagaling nyo naman, mga kaibigan. The answer is letter C. Si Pedro Pelaez. Ayan. Number 48 tayo. Again, ito ay history uli. So ito, sir, ito parang nahirapan akong hanapin ang sagot nito eh. Sabi dito, this religious institution is the only living remnant of the Philippine Revolution of 1896. Ito ay medyo confusing para sa akin. Kayo ba mga kaibigan, what is your answer here? Ito ba ay ang Philippine Independent, hindi ko mabasa, Independent Church? B, the Roman Catholic Church? C, the Unitarian Church of the Philippines? Or D, the United Church of the Philippines? Actually, sir, dito ata ang madalas sa sagot is either A or B. Yung aglipayan na Philippine Independent Church o yung Roman Catholic Church. Pero mga kaibigan, in here, the answer is letter A. Kasi po ang ating keywords dito is living remnant of the Philippine Revolution. As we all know, my dear friends, ito po itinayo ni Don Belong as part of their revolt against the Spanish rule. Kumbaga sila Andres Bonifacio, sila Jose Rizal, ang kinakalaban dati ay pamamalakad ng gobyerno. Si Don Belong gusto niya magkaroon ng sariling version ng Catholicism. Ay ito kayong Aglipayan Church. So my dear friends, in number 48, the answer is letter A. O, ayan. Sir, malapit na tayo matapos.
Yes.
Number 49, wala po number 49. So, back tayo to 82. Na actually, sir, 82 na ito po ay na-discuss na namin sa English nung nakaraan. Na ang sagot po namin dito ay, sige nga guys, if you can remember, ano ba ating sagot sa number 82? Di ba ito ay naaralan natin? Tama. Replication, repeat, and check. Ayan. Sir, number 146. Actually, yung 145 consti, ay meron pa palang 144. 144. Okay. Ito, napakadali din ito. Gregoria de Jesus saw her husband blank get charged for treason by fellow Filipino. At sino ba ito, mga kaibigan? Sino ba yung napangasawa niya? Is it A, Marcelo del Pilar, Emilio Aguinaldo, Andres Bonifacio, or Jose Rizal? Tama kayo, mga kaibigan. Ang napangasawa niya ay si Andres Bonifacio. Gregoria de Jesus is also known as Oriang. Tama ba ako, sir? Siya ba si Oriang?
Yes. Si Oriang, dahil namatay nga si Andres Bonifacio, nag-asawa siya ulit.
Si Julio Nakpil ba yan, sir?
Yes. Na nakatira sa Quiapo, malapit sa simbahan ng Quiapo.
Talaga ba, sir?
Yes. At sa kanya nagmula ang mga naunang mga magagaling na mga alahero. Kasi si Aling Oriang magaling sa design. Magaling mag-design ng jewelry. Di ba? May mga side comments pa. At si Aling Oriang, kawawa ito, di ba? Especially during the time na tawag diyan, magkasama sila ni Andres Bonifacio. Nung inassassinate si Andres Bonifacio, ilang beses pinagtangkaan ang puri ni Aling Oriang. Tanungin kung sino ang gustong maglugso ng kanyang puri. Mga kanang kamay mismo ni Emilio Aguinaldo. Kita mo yan, napakasalbahe nila.
Pero sir, naipagtanggol po ba ni Oriang ang kanyang sarili sa planong?
Yes. Napagtanggol niya ang kanyang sarili dahil tandaan, revolusyonarya si Aling Oriang. Siya ang kauna-unahan babaeng miyembro ng KKK.
Totoo. Pero sir, ang tanong ko siya...
alam niyo ba kung bakit siya naging isa sa bakit sumali ang mga babae? Initially, dapat puro lalaki lang. Nagtataka na yung mga asawa nila, bakit laging late umuwi? At ang mga pera, at laging bawas ang mga pera. Hindi nila alam kasi nagko-contribute yung mga asawa nila para magkaroon ng pondo ang katipunan. At late sila umuwi dahil nagmi-meeting sila. Nauubusan na sila ng mga dahilan. Nagsiselos na ang mga asawa. Kaya paunti-unti, isinali na ang mga kababaihan. Isa sa mga nauna, si Aling Oriang. Yun.
Pero sir, naka-move on siya agad kay Andres Bonifacio, no? Kasi nagpakasal siya agad kay Julio Nakpil.
Hindi naman agad-agad siya. Nagluksa naman si Aling Oriang bago siya nagpunta kay Julio Nakpil. Magagalit naman yung mga friends ko. Friend namin na mga yan.
Ayan.
Ang mga ako ni Aling Oriang ay friends namin.
So, ayan po. So, si Andres Bonifacio ang kanyang napangasawa. Ang naman, number 145, actually 145. Ito ay nasagot na po ni attorney kanina. The answer is Constitution. Number 146 po tayo, Ate Clarissa. Ito po, sir, sa inyo po to. Philosophy po ata.
Yes. No, this is a sociology din.
Sociology.
General knowledge on sociology. Si Nelson Mandela, isang black guy, remember? He gave up armed struggle and chose the peaceful way to freedom. He inspired South Africans and the world. Looking back, which best describes philosophy? Nandiyan na ang sagot, di ba? He gave up armed struggle, chose peaceful way of freedom.
Peaceful way of freedom.
Is it black supremacy? Is it armed struggle, non-violence, or imprisonment? So definitely, tanggalin na ang armed struggle. The answer there should be non-violence.
Tama. Letter C.
Yeah.
At Sir Noy, tama po ang sagot ng mga bata. Very good. Ang gagaling ninyo. Very good. Number 147. I think art po ito, sir. Which government agency is mandated to promote local art? Siyempre, guys, hindi naman NBI. At hindi naman din, hindi naman NCAA, mga kaibigan. The answer here is, mamimili lang kayo, is either CCP or NCCA or National Commission for Culture and the Arts or Cultural Center of the Philippines. But the best answer here is NCCA, syempre, the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. So letter D po ang ating 147. And last item po, ay Sir Noy, sige po.
Okay, nagtataka sila, pwede rin naman daw ang CCP,
CCP.
because it's the Cultural Center of the Philippines. But remember, CCP is not only promoting Philippine art, it also brings to the Philippines international art para ma-experience ng mga Filipino. That was the vision of Madam Imelda Marcos when she established the CCP to showcase the Philippines at the same time to bring the best in the world by experience
the Philippines.
But the NCCA, the National Commission on Culture and Art, is talagang focus yan talaga sa pagkakaroon sa art ng local art. In fact, 'di ba, ang CCP sila magbibigay ng National Artist Award, ang NCCA sila magbibigay ng mga
Gamaba, sir.
Yes,
Gawad sa Manlikha ng Bayan. Gamaba. Opo. Sir, may tanong, ano po yung NCAA? National College Athletics Association. Ito yung mga basketball ng San Beda.
San Sebastian.
San Sebastian. Ito po yung parang college version ng UAAP.
Kasi
kaya ito po ay
naman yung isa.
Ito ay sa college. Ayan. So 147. At sir, last is 148 na na-discuss na rin po namin ito sa English. Ito po yung if a person claims he has a strong sense of self-efficacy which is not reflective of him and her. And Sir Noy, dito po ang sagot po namin ay letter C. Ang sagot po namin dito. Avoiding challenging task. Sir Noy, tama po ba kami?
Yes, kasi ang arrangement niyan is plus, plus, minus, plus.
Totoo po.
Diba?
So, ayan.
Natapos na tayo, Edward? Wow.
Yes, sir. Tapos na po tayo. Ay, ano yan? English na po ito. Some preachers announced the blank that Armageddon is but ito ay nasama dito, Ate Clarissa. This is English. Ito ay prophetic. Yan. The prophecy. 150 is prophecy. Some preachers announced the prophecy that Armageddon is imminent. Letter C po ito. Prophecy. Nasama po sa saksayang English. Ayan. Pero ano ba yung mga kaibigan? I think that's the end of it. Maraming salamat sa pagstay. We are now 219 sa ating room tonight. Maraming salamat. At bukas po, wag po kayo